Hey, I'm Alicia from Alicia Runs and Reads. Welcome to my channel. Welcome or welcome back. Today I am excited to share with you a book that I read recently that I gave 5 stars, and I did not vlog at all for this book. I just was on vacation and I didn't want to vlog, and so I don't have my live reactions to it or anything like that, but I just loved it so much that I sort of feel like I have to, I just want to share. I want to share my thoughts, my feelings, all of those. This will be a little bite-sized video for you guys. If you didn't know already what I'm talking about from Instagram and all those things, that book is Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. I have been on a little bit of a Robin Hobb journey. In 2020, I read the Soldier Son trilogy, which I loved. That is not part of the Realm of the Elderlings, and I didn't really know anything about Robin Hobb. My friend gave me my first Hobb, and I read it and I loved it, and I needed those long books to get me through those early days of the pandemic, and I just sort of fell in love with her, and I love those 3 books so much. Then years later, I wanted to read more from her, and I didn't even know about the Realm of the Elderlings. I knew nothing, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's like this whole huge interconnected trilogies and things that you can read. And so I decided I was going to start that this year, and last fall, maybe in the spring, I read the first trilogy, which is the first trilogy, which includes Assassin's Apprentice, Assassin's Quest, and Royal Assassin, which I liked all 3 of these. I think this one's actually the 3rd one. This is the 2nd one. I enjoyed all 3 of these. I don't know if it's a 5-star series for me. It's close, maybe 4.5. Overall, I really liked Assassin's Apprentice and Royal Assassin. There's a character called the Fool in here, which everyone loves, and I loved him too. Fitz was just, you know, beaten while he was down constantly. He is main character of these books. It's really just from Fitz's perspective. He is the son of a king, bastard son of a king or prince, and he is taken into the kingdom and raised as trained up to be an assassin, sometimes a scribe. He also has different kinds of magic that he has innately because of his lineage that you start to grow and learn about. And it's just him trying to find his place in life. Really good. Excellent. I did not like it as much as the Soldier Son trilogy, but as I said, that one was just like a moment in time for me. I continued on. I bought the first 2 trilogies a while ago, and I decided to continue on with Ship of Magic. Steph, Fall into Steph or something. I think that's the name of her channel now. She changed it a while ago, but I'll link it down below. Was doing a read along for Realm of the Elderlings series, so I decided to hop on and read Ship of Magic since this was the next one, and they were reading this one soon, although I'm sure I won't finish the trilogy before they're ready to do a live show for it. But anyways, Ships of Magic is in the same world as the Assassins trilogy, but in a different area of this world, different culture, different things going on. And there's a lot of characters, so I kind of wrote them all down. So we are in the setting, well, as we open up this story, this is going to be no spoilers or like very mild spoilers for the first few chapters. As we're opening up in this story, we are meeting this pirate named Kenneth, and he wants to go to this somewhat magical island where he wants to meet this creature called the Other to get an oracle prophecy thing told about him. And so he does that, and he dreams of being king of the pirates. And every time I read anything about being king of the pirates, all I could think of is One Piece and Luffy. So like in my brain, that's what Kenneth looks like. For some reason, I just kept on picturing Luffy in my head, even when it didn't fit with any of the descriptions, but that's what I pictured. And he wants to take the pirates and have them have some law and protection and become king of the pirates. So he kind of hatches this plan to become king of the pirates. And then along the way, he meets, I don't remember what his name is, but first mate that will help him. But he says, all right, like, pirates don't want a king. You want to go chasing it, because he dreams of having a live ship. He thinks that he would have more respect among the pirates if he had this live ship, which we'll get to in a second. He's like, if you go and chase these if you want to go chase these live ships, I'll be your first mate. I also want to chase and reclaim slave ships because slavery is wrong, and I think he may have been a slave at one point, and he wants to reclaim the slave ships, free these slaves, and that's the deal they come up with. So Kenneth unsuspectingly or unwillingly / willingly but because it's part of a deal, he starts to become part of this plan to take over these slaving ships. But his real dream is to be king of the pirates and to have a live ship. So that's Kenneth. And then we go off to Bingtown, or somewhere in the waters near Bingtown, and on this ship that's a live ship, and that ship is called Vivacia. And Vivacia hasn't quickened yet. So these live ships are made out of special wood. They're from the Rainwild River. They're called Wizard Wood, and families will go into deep, steep debt to get one of these live ships made for them. We are on the third generation of people who, in this family, who have served aboard this live ship. And once three generations of people die aboard the ship will quicken and the figurehead of the ship will come to life. That means that just live ships, they just never break down, they sail easier, but they're also magical, so they have their own opinions about things and they talk. But the third person that will be dying upon this ship is dying. He's not dead yet. So we're off the waters as he, the grandfather, is passing away on shore of Bingtown. His daughter, Althea, is on the ship with his son-in-law, and his son-in-law's name is Kyle. And we don't like Kyle. Kyle's a jerk, kind of a douchebag, and he gets to captain this live ship, not Althea, because Althea wasn't old enough, and Althea's a woman. The father was kind of convinced on his deathbed to just kind of like let him do it. And he had a first mate when he was sailing, and he really liked him. His name was Brashen. We like Brashen. And he was like really solid, really loyal. And of course, Kaya was like, I don't want you on here. I don't want you to be my first mate. You won't listen to me. You just look to, my father-in-law, as his word has always been law, and he's done everything. Always the bestest, best. And you're not going to, there's new man in town. Althea is aboard the ship because there has to be a blood member of the family aboard the ship at all times, or otherwise there could be bad luck. And once the ship quickens, that ship's not going to sail unless there's a member of that family on there. So he has to have some sort of blood family on there. So she's on there. She thinks that the ship is her birthright and that she's going to captain the ship once her father passes away, once it quickens. That's her dream of dreams. She's a little young and inexperienced. That's what she wants to do, and that's what she believes is her right, and she definitely don't want Kyle sailing her ship. She loves this ship. That's what she wants to do with her life. Her mom's name is Veronica, and she is a little bit of a Veronica. She kind of wants her daughter to, get married and support the family that way, because this family, financially, not doing so good. Most people who grow into these deep, steep debt to get these live ship made, most of these families, it was the father who's dying, his grandmother was the first person to sail upon the ship. And so he always thought Althea was going to be going on this ship too, but there are things that are happening financially where they are in debt to these Rainwild River folk, and they are magical people. We don't really know a lot about them at the beginning of this, so I'm not going to tell you too much about them, but they're magical people. The father begins to realize that this deal that his great-grandmother or his grandmother made, there might be a steeper price to it than he could have thought. And most families that have these ships, they will trade amongst the Rainwild River, and because of that, because the only people that are allowed to trade with them are the ones that have the live ships, most of the time these families get rich very, very quickly, are able to pay back their debt. Ephron thinks that the price is too high. We also come to find out that in Bingtown, they live sort of close to the Rainwild River, but not super close. But because the people that first started to try to settle there, bad things happened, deaths happened, disease happened, and they just had to move slightly away from it, but they did finally settle in this town of Bingtown. And Bingtown has some sort of curse on it where sometimes the babies are born like as monsters instead of real people, and that they're usually drowned right after they're born. And so that has happened to Ephron's wife as well as Ephron's daughter Kefria, which we haven't gotten to yet, his eldest daughter. We also find out that Veronica and Ephron, the parents, and Ephron's, again, the one that's passing away, is sick, that they also had a bunch of sons too, and they died of something called the blood plague, which we haven't heard too much about, but it pretty much like wiped out a bunch of people at one point. And then we start to learn a little bit more about Kyle's kids. So Kyle married Althea's sister Kefria, and they have 3 children. They have the youngest named Selden. He's 7, and we don't really know much about him. He's just like a little baby. We don't really know much about him. We have Malta, who's 12, who, let me tell you about Malta, is a piece of work. She's a piece of work. She cracks me up. She's 12 years old. If my daughter, who is also 12 years old, was that snippy and thought she knew what was best and could not be told any differently and manipulative and so ignorant of the realities of life, gosh, I just wanted to like slap her, but also she made me laugh and I loved her in a way. She is 12. Like, she's just trying to do what she wants to do in life without anybody telling her any different. And Malta, you know, her mom's trying to hold her back a little bit. She just wants to like come out into society as a woman at 12, and she doesn't understand the implications of that. She just wants to show up her friends who says she's going to be presented this year. So we have stuff involving that. There's this is all very, very, very surface stuff. There's so much in here, so don't worry about that. I'm not going to tell you like big spoilers, but Malta just cracks me up, and I was so scared for her. I'm like, she's going to F around and find out, and I'm so scared for that day. But things are moving along, and by the end of this book, I'm very curious to see what happens with Malta in the next 2 books. I'm curious to see what happens with all these characters, but it's Robin Hobb. You know that things are not going to be good. You know that these characters are going to suffer. Maybe amongst the one that suffers the most in this is Winthrop. He is Kefria's eldest. He's the only boy, and when he reaches a certain age, he is given to the monastery of Sa, which is the god in this world. She always wanted to give her son to a monastery, and Kyle's like, yeah, he's like a crappy boy, you know, like he's weak and I don't like him all that much, so sure, send him off. But then as the years go by, Winthrop ends up really loving being a priest, and he wants to be a priest, and he has a talent for it and is excelling at that, but is called back because his grandfather is dying, and so he has to go back to his grandfather's bedside. Now we go back to Kyle. Kyle is all, well, I need someone aboard this ship that has the blood of the family. And Althea thinks she's just going to come in and take over. He's already kicked Brashen off. Once they get to shore, tells his son, like, you're not going back. You're coming on board the ship with me. You're going to be a ship's boy. And that's that. And he doesn't want to do that. He's 13. He has to do what his father says until he's 15. He wants to go back. And despite what his mother says, despite what his grandmother says, despite everything, Kyle does what he wants and forces Winthrop to become a ship's boy above the ship after it quickens, and goes off, and Althea is not happy. And she runs off on her own adventures. So Winthrop and Kyle go off aboard the ship. Brashen got kicked off the ship. Althea and Brashen go off and try to have some other adventures on their own. And then we have Malta, Ronica, and Kefria, and they are the family left at home in Bingtown. And then we have like the separate, which is Kenneth, who wants to have a live ship, and of course our main ship, Vivacia, is a live ship and does quicken towards the beginning of this book, and she has opinions about who she wants aboard the ship, and it may not be who is aboard the ship. There's also an overarching lots of plot about slavery in here. In Bingtown, the slavery was legal, but now there are these new people coming in and having slaves and selling slaves, and people that go into debt end up getting forced into slavery. They have tattoos on their faces that they can never take off. You know, so eventually if they are found and like escape or whatever, they have to have papers with them and everything and be escorted, and are just, you know, slavery is wrong. We're seeing some of the implications of that, even though our main family, the Vestrit family, their father is very against this. So I just love the way the world is set up in here. You're getting little bits and pieces, and it's just so authentically, slowly given to us in little dribs and drabs. And like the blood plague, okay, it wiped out a bunch of people, but like, why is that? Is there a curse? Is that a thing or no? These demon babies, we got very little about, just like mentioned kind of off the cuff, like this happened and it's horrible and heartbreaking. The Rainwild River people, the Rainwild traders, like, who are they? They seem to be somewhat subhuman, like humanoid, but they look a little different, but we haven't really learned a lot about that. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. I'm just so curious about what exactly is happening there. Are they going to be able to pay off their debts? How are they going to be able to pay off their debt? We're hearing more and more about that, like what is involved in this deal. The other live ships, we get a little bit of some of that in here, and I'm just so curious about these other live ships and what they think about what is going on with Vivacia. I'm sorry, I have a hard time saying them. Vivacia and the crew. There is a whole other character in here named Amber, and Amber is a mysterious character sculptor with wood, and it's a very small part of this, but I know it's going to be bigger because there's also this ship that's been beached or whatever, not set sail anymore because it was damaged. I don't know. I don't want to give anything away, but she has this relationship with a ship called Paragon, which I'm also very, very curious about. And so lots of things in here that lots of things about the world that I'm really curious in, more so than I was with the Assassins trilogy, which seems more court intrigue, kings, princes, you know, knights, royal assassins, and all that kind of stuff, like typical. This is just so different with the sailing and the pirate, and yeah, like this whole other Rain Wild River area that we have learned almost nothing about, but they have magic, and very curious to see how all that plays out with Malta. I'm sure we'll get more from Selden as he gets older. I'm curious about him as well. We have a few other minor characters in here. One antagonist named is Torg, and he is told basically to train up Winthrow to be a ship's boy and a sailor because he's never done that before. He's just relentlessly evil, and he's probably the most black character in here. Kyle is pretty bad. I can't really find much about him that is redeemable, but I know Robin Hobb likes to make characters, even when we think they're evil, to be a little bit more gray, so I'm curious to see what we'll get maybe of that background or future or whatever, and I'm curious about that. I'm curious about what's going to happen with Winthrow. Is he ever going to get to be a priest again? I don't know. But yeah, he's kind of like the most like Fitz in my opinion. Like, he is kicked when he is down constantly. Every time you think there might be something, things might be improving, you know, maybe not so much. And yeah, I just loved this so much. Like, when I read Royal Assassin, I finished it. I'm like, yeah, that was good. This one, I'm like, I'm gonna read the next one. Like, I love it so, so much. And Allie, if you're watching, tell your husband to read it. It's good. Maybe he needs to go back to the beginning to fully appreciate this one. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I've been talking about this for 20 minutes, so maybe I should stop. But yeah, I love this so, so much. I hope that if you're interested in reading it, you do pick it up. Fitz wasn't really for you. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to read those just to get to this one, but I really, really liked this, guys. I don't know, and this will count for Kayla's cover challenge for this month because there's a damaged flag on the cover, and we're supposed to have a damaged cover, and this will work for that. But yes, that's my little review of Live Ship Traders. 5 easy stars, 6 stars. So excited. This might be my new favorite from her. The Soldier Son trilogy has like some like tree, ancient family ancestor stuff that I just really, really liked in there. But honestly, like, I don't remember everything about this book, those books, just the feelings that I had while reading. I loved them. But this one also too. I think this might be my new favorite. I'm just literally, like, usually there's one character you're like, I really like the character, like in The Assassin's Apprentice, you know, you have the fool and it's like, ooh, that's interesting. Or I forget, Fitz's kind of the groundskeeper, the horse guy, the barn guy, I forgot what his name is. Anyways, like, he was really cool, and I really liked him. There's like people that I really liked in there, but like this, like every single character I either loved or loved to hate. I had some opinion about, I had some feelings about, and all the things. And so I'm going to leave it there. I hope you like this video. I don't know if anyone's going to watch me blab about one book for 20 minutes, but if you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment down below.